and they will have different kinds of things written out for you. All right? Now this particular thing says, look into camera. And they mount it over here on this little cart stand. Okay? This advises you when you're looking up that you are not paying attention to the camera. Right now I'm not paying attention to the camera. Someone would put this up, remind me then, because I would see that motion that I'm not looking into the camera, and I would refocus on the camera. Okay? There are some other things that we have here to help the speaker. When you're going too slow, we have a speed up. When you're speaking too fast, there's a slow down. There's a tendency to speak in time. If you're giving a 5-minute presentation, you'll need to know 1 minute expired, 2 minute expires, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. How we do that is this. You start, you have 5. You have your cue. Go. A little bit later, the attendant is looking at his watch. He'll give you 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. When you see the 1 minute, you know that if you have a 30 to 45 second conclusion, you've better begin that conclusion now. If you're in a time frame where, let's say, you're giving a presentation that goes 4 to 5 minutes, you can stop sometime after 4, but once you get to 5, you're off the air. You're cut. Whatever you wanted to finish with is gone. Okay? The same situation of a teacher at Ridgewood giving a large group. When the buzzer sounds, that teacher had made the end of his conclusion to be fair to the audience, because the audience wants to move with that buzzer. If he has more things to say, two things can happen. Either he can say, stay, okay, in which case he's already having trouble with his audience attention, or he can just not finish what he wants to say and invent some things about picking it up next time. The timing is very important. So we have a watch your time situation. And then, usually, once you've been doing this a while, you begin to get this kind of thing. Looks good. Now this does not necessarily refer to anything you're saying. This refers to the visual use of the cameras. Okay? Everything is going correctly with the cameras. Alrighty? Now I'm going to go back to another set. And you're going to, and by another set I mean another place in the room. And you're going to watch me move about the room, and the cameraman's going to try and pick me up. Okay, now I'll walk in a manner that attends to the camera. Okay? I will give the cameraman a chance to go with me, which means I have to move just a little bit slower. Okay? Because I've got to give him a reasonable opportunity to keep me in focus if I'm going to be fair to my audience. Another thing I want to be doing is stay approximately the same distance from the camera as I move along to make it a little easier for him to focus. Okay? I've now gone behind the podium I started with, and if I were to go back to the first camera again, you see the angle, the camera angle we started the production with. All right? In this particular demonstration, in order to heighten your awareness of what's going on, we're using 3 cameras. As a beginner in the use of videotape, more probably you'll only be using 1 camera. Sometimes there'll be a second camera to pick up maybe a graphic like that Godspell thing I showed you before. You'll also have a choice of sets, so to speak. In other words, how do you wish to appear to your audience? Do you wish to use a podium such as I've been using? Okay? It's handy if you want to use notes and things. Would you rather appear with nothing in front of you? Okay? And here I'm going to move again, and the cameraman's going to go with me. Okay? And now I have nothing in front of me. There's no sense of security. Most of you will probably desire something in front of you. Okay? And we're going to give you a choice of this particular podium, or if you will, a desk situation. Notice the difference in effect between the individual or myself a moment ago standing at a podium and I'm now at a desk. I can take the same notes, I can lay them here, but I've still got big pieces of paper that are hard to read. Let me emphasize again the importance of the little cards. See, as I'm using little cards to give me some sort of cue, I can just lay them aside. I can keep them in the hand and they don't necessarily distract from the picture, or I can lay them on the desk. But notice very much when I begin to read, if I have notes here, let me just pick this thing up. And I begin to read, at such a time as the Fleetwood receiver and/or headsets fail to operate satisfactorily, the owner is to determine that the problem is not the batteries. You know how difficult it is to watch someone who's reading? And notice the break in eye contact. Notice that it is easier to look at someone who is in some way looking at you, even though it's through this little black and white TV monitor box. Also keep in mind, as you're comparing where I am right now at this desk set, okay? Think of a Walter Jacobson and the fancy situation he has with his perspective. Or behind him, way back here, he has all those bookshelves, he has a typewriter, he has all this paper, he has a phone, okay? He has the polish and pizzazz of color. We're in straight black and white, okay? A more difficult thing to work with. A more difficult thing to use in order to keep the audience interested in what we're saying. However, notice the tremendous difference between having something in black and white TV as opposed to just an audio tape, okay, where you have the full imagination, where you have to begin to picture something. Okay, what we've covered so far is the importance of your dress, okay? And let me at this point also mention that the warmth of the garments. When I put the sweater on, I did not need it for warmth. Believe me, I didn't need it for warmth, okay? I did it only for color. If I'm going to wear something very heavy, and it could be a huge double knit white sweater, that's going to get very warm. The lights you have, okay, notice as I can move into and out of light, all right? These lights we have shining, very, very bright, very warm, okay? To look into the light, or deliberately look into a light, there's no way I can do so without coming back and blinking. I'm not making this up, by the way, okay? When you look into a light, you lose your sense. You see the spots, okay? It's a very bright, difficult thing to do. And again, I'm not making this up. I am still recovering from looking in that light, okay? Then to refocus, for a couple of minutes there, I could not distinguish the red light at the top of the camera, okay? I really couldn't. So you have to pay attention to where your lights are, stay with the lights, okay? But what I want to remind you of here is not only looking at the camera, but the lights, your attention to wearing dark clothes, but not so heavy as you're going to become uncomfortable. Many people who are new to the use of videotape are going to be nervous to begin with, okay? Might be a good idea to have a Kleenex or something in your hand just to absorb some of that perspiration that comes about. Also, you might want to dress in a manner that's not too overly warm, because most of you will warm up in a nervous situation rather rapidly, okay? Once you begin coming very warm, if you become perspirous, you become very uncomfortable, and this, of course, will show in how you are behaving visually in front of the camera. One of these guys wiping perspiration, or this, and all these kinds of distracting things. You want to totally avoid touching your face so that you don't have the effect that I've just created, or going about your hair, or, you know, what do I do now, these kinds of things. You want to keep your hands down. In front of you, perhaps, okay, for a gesture, to make something important. One gesture I use occasionally, and some of you have told me about, is one of these guys if you want something in quotations, okay? The gestures you use, whether they're natural or artificial, are going to be picked up simply because it is movement. Any kind of movement will be seen immediately. Okay, you need to attach the microphone, pay attention to the lights on the camera. I recommend these smaller cards. Don't write your whole presentation out. Use cards to remind you of what it is you want to say. You will have a choice of sets. Most of you will select either a desk set, such as I'm using here. Now, my speech today is for this English class, and I want to talk to you about my topic. And do we really have to start this right now? Can I do it over? I can't do it over. I have to start? Okay. Well,